So in my last session, I really messed up. My microphone was not working at all, and I really want to throw away the phone. I'm not going to spend any more money. I'm not going to try to make this any more better because, to be honest, I pay for the books and I'm using this for my own benefit. And YouTube is a place where I can upload stuff with unlimited amount of memory and don't have to save that on my phone. And I can go back to it at any time and listen to it with a little bit of data. So I'm paying for everything. And if my friends want to look, you know what I'm saying, get involved and see how I do things, you can do that. So what I do is I choose a couple questions out of each section because they're only asking us 3 questions per section. The most is 4 or 5. If you don't get one, you fail that section. So what I'm gonna do is I'm only gonna study as if I'm doing an actual test per section. So I'm not gonna go through the whole section. Right now I'm on landing gears. Is that where I left off? Did I left off at landing gears? I left off at landing gears. My last video, I have to redo the whole video. So I'm trying to see how I got things here. As it processing. I should start from the beginning and go through. So let's go from the beginning. Okay? What type of circuit? So I'm in electrical right now. I'm gonna do through a few questions and move on. Because as I said, we only do 3 questions per section and we gotta get them right. And I'm gonna come back to the ones I didn't miss, that I didn't get in another video. And you can treat this as if it's a real DME asking you a real question, giving you a real test. What type of circuit breakers may not be used in the aircraft? Automatic resetting types. And remember, treat this as if it's an actual test. And right now we're in the electrical section. What part of the aircraft is identified by the white navigation light? The tail. What could cause an AC electric motor to run too slowly? Lack of lubrication, defective wiring, low amplified voltage. What could cause an AC electric motor to run too slowly? Lack of lubrication, defective wiring, or low applied voltage. What should be done when making bonding or grounding connection between dissimilar materials? The use of a suitable washer so that any corrosion will occur on the washer. What should be done when making bonding or grounding connections between dissimilar materials? Use a washer. Prior to making continuity check, what must be done to the electrical circuit? The power must be turned off. Prior to making continuity check, what must be done? Turn the power off. Now we go into hydraulic and pneumatic system. So I might go to like 12 questions per section. Okay. What materials form the basis of the 3 types of hydraulic fluid? Vegetable, mineral, and phosphate ester. What materials form basis of the 3 types of hydraulic fluid? Vegetable, mineral, and phosphate ester. What color denote mineral base and phosphate ester base hydraulic fluid? Mineral base fluids are red and phosphate ester base fluids are light purple. What are the results of exposing the core, oil-based paint, and plastic resin and vinyl compounds? What? Hold on. What are the results of exposing the cores, oil-based paint, plastic resins, and vinyl compounds to phosphate ester base hydraulic fluid? Materials will damage or soften, or the paint will peel. What materials form the basis of the three types of hydraulic fluid? Vegetable, mineral, phosphate ester base. What colors denote mineral base and phosphate ester base hydraulic fluid? Mineral are red, phosphate ester base are light purple. Describe the purpose of pressure relief valve. Pressure relief valves limit the maximum pressure produced by the pump, thereby preventing failures of the system components. Describe purpose of the pressure relief valve. Pressure relief valve limit the maximum pressure produced by the pump, preventing failures of the system components. Next question. Engine-driven pumps deliver the output fluid flow in what two forms? As a constant volume or a variable volume? As a constant volume or a variable volume? What would cause the bypass valve in the hydraulic filter to open and allow unfiltered fluid to circulate in the system? A clogged filter element. What would cause the bypass valve in the hydraulic filter to open and allow unfiltered fluid to circulate in the system? A clogged filter element. Describe several methods of pressurizing a hydraulic reservoir. Engine bleed air. System pressure acting on a small piston in the reservoir. Using variable displacement hydraulic pumps. Okay. Describe several methods of pressurizing a hydraulic reservoir. Engine bleed air system, pressure acting on a small piston in the reservoir. Using variable displacement hydraulic pumps. Next question. What are three different types of accumulator? Pistons, diaphragm, and bladder. What are three different types of accumulators? Pistons, diaphragm, and bladder. What safety precaution must be taken prior to disassembling an accumulator? What safety precaution must be taken prior to disassembling an accumulator? Release all the air or preload. What type of component or system are pneumatically operated in some aircraft? What type of component or system are pneumatically operated in some aircraft? The landing gear, brakes, flaps, and other mechanical actuators. What types of components or system are pneumatically operated in some aircraft? Landing gear, brakes, flaps, other mechanical actuators. What happens to excess pressure in the pneumatic system? The relief valve vents it overboard. What happened to excess pressure in the pneumatic system? The relief valve vents it overboard. It's dumped overboard. What is the function of a restrictor in the pneumatic system? A restrictor to control the rate of flow of the airflow. What relief valve vents it over? What happens to excess pressure in the pneumatic system? A relief valve vents it overboard. What is the function of a restrictor in a pneumatic system? To control the rate of flow of the airflow. What is the purpose of torque links in an audio strut? What is the purpose of a torque link on an audio strut? To keep the wheel in alignment and prevent the piston from coming out of the cylinder. What is the purpose of a torque link in an audio strut? To keep the wheel in alignment and prevent the piston from coming out of the cylinder. A landing gear shock strut should be inflated with what gases? Nitrogen or dry air? A landing gear shock strut should be inflated with what gases? And we're in landing gears. Nitrogen and dry air. So landing gear shock strut should be inflated with nitrogen or dry air. What conditions should a mechanic look for during a regular inspection of an exposed piston section of a landing gear? Cleanness, evidence of damage, proper extension. What should mechanic look for on a regular inspection of the landing gear? The exposed piston section of a landing gear. Cleanness, evidence of damage, proper extension. So if there's an evidence of damage, you got to do a replacement. What prevents air from leaking out between the two halves of a split wheel assembly? An O-ring, baby. So an O-ring keeps the air from leaking out between the two halves of a split wheel assembly. The O-ring prevents air from leaking out between the two split halves of an O-ring. What safety precaution must be taken when removing a wheel from an axle or when disassembling a wheel? Verify that the tire is completely deflated before removing a wheel from an axle or before wheel disassembly. What safety precaution must be taken when removing a wheel from an axle or when disassembling a wheel? Verify that the tire is completely deflated before removing the wheel from the axle or before wheel disassembly. What are the visible signs of excessive heat on the wheel bearings? What are the visible signs of excessive heating on a wheel bearing? The bearing surface shows discoloration. What are the visible signs of excessive heating on a wheel bearing? The bearing surfaces show discoloration. How are the pilot's nose wheel steering commands transmitted to the steering control unit of a large aircraft? How are pilot's nose wheel steering commands transmitted to the steering control unit of a large aircraft? Steering signals may be transmitted mechanically, electrically, hydraulically. How are pilot nose wheel steering commands transmitted to a steering control unit in a large aircraft? Steering signal may be transmitted mechanically, electrically, or hydraulically. How is the nose wheel steering mechanism usually actuated on a small aircraft? By means of mechanical linkage connected to the rudder pedals. How is the nose wheel steering mechanism usually actuated on a small aircraft? By means of mechanical linkage connected to the rudder pedals. What is the name of a unit that prevents nose wheel from vibrating or oscillating? A shimmy damper. What is the name of a unit that prevents the nose wheel from vibrating or oscillating? A shimmy damper. What is the name of a unit that prevents the nose wheel from vibrating or oscillating? Remember? A shimmy damper. What are the most common source of power used to extend and retract landing gear? Hydraulic pressure and electric motors. What are the most common sources of power used to extend and retract landing gears? Hydraulic pressure and electric motor. What are the most common sources of power used to extend and retract landing gears? Hydraulic pressure and electric motors. What time should a gear retraction check be performed? At what time should a gear retraction check be performed? During annual or other inspections and following hard landing. What time should a gear retraction check be performed? During annual, other inspections, and following hard landing. During annual or any other inspection. When you're doing an inspection, check the landing gear, people. What mechanism ensures that a nose wheel is not turned as it retracts into the wheel well? What mechanism ensures that the nose wheel is not turned as it's retracted into the wheel well? Internal centering cam in the strut or external track. What mechanism ensures that the nose wheel is not turned as it retracts into the wheel well? The internal centering cam in the strut or external track. Name several types of brake actuating system. Independent master cylinder, boost brakes, power control brakes. Name several types of brake actuating system. Independent master cylinders, boosted brakes, and power control brakes. Name several types of brake activating system. Independent master cylinders, boosted brake, and power control brake. What is the function of an anti-skid system? Anti-skid system allow large aircraft to achieve maximum braking effectiveness without allowing wheels to skid or lock. What is the function of the anti-skid system? The anti-skid system allow large aircraft to achieve maximum braking effectiveness without allowing wheels to skid or lock. What is the purpose of a debooster? To reduce hydraulic system What is the purpose of a debooster? To reduce hydraulic system high pressure to a lower value for more satisfactory braking action. What is the purpose of a debooster? To reduce hydraulic system high pressure to a lower value for more satisfactory braking action. Can you ask me that again? What is the purpose of a debooster? I said to reduce hydraulic system high pressure to a lower value for more satisfactory braking action. Describe two methods of bleeding the brakes. Describe two methods of bleeding the brakes. A pressure pot can be attached to the bleeder valve and fluid forced back towards the master cylinder into the reservoir. 2. The master cylinder can be used for forcing fluid from the reservoir to the brakes. Two methods of bleeding brakes. 1. A pressure pot can be attached to the bleeder valve, forced back towards the master cylinder. Or the master cylinder can be used forcing fluid from the reservoir to the brakes. Okay? Number 18. Before brake system can be inspected for leaks, what action must be accomplished? Pressure must be applied to the system. Before a brake system can be inspected for leaks, what action must be accomplished? Pressure must be applied to the system. What maintenance function has the greatest impact on tire service life? What maintenance function has the greatest impact on tire service life? Ensuring that the tires are properly inflated. I said, what maintenance function has the greatest impact on tire service life? Ensuring that the tires are properly inflated. What effect does underinflation have on aircraft tires? What effect does underinflation have on aircraft tires? Internal heat damage, possibly leading to a premature tire failure and more thread wear on the shoulder than in the center. What effect does underinflation have on aircraft tires? Internal heat damage, possibly leading to premature tire failure and more thread wear on the shoulders than in the center. Let me go hard now, cause I'm about to go hard. They got me freaked up. What unit in the anti-skid system generates an anti-skid warning signal? The control unit. You said what? I said, what unit in the anti-skid system generates the anti-skid warning signal? The controlled unit. How is the pilot alerted that an anti-skid system has automatically returned to a manual brake system? By a warning light. You got me messed up now. I said, how is the pilot alerted that the anti-skid system has automatically returned to the manual brake system? And I said, by a warning light. Well, what is the significance of an anti-skid system? Can I ask that again? What is the significance of an anti-skid warning? The system is off or has failed. What is the significance of an anti-skid warning? If the signal is turned off or if the signal has failed. Next, by what usual means does the stall warning system in a small aircraft alert the pilot of an impending stall? Well, an audible alert or the warning light. By what means usually does a stall warning system in a small aircraft alert the pilot of an impending stall? An audible alert or warning light. What is the purpose of torque links in an oleo strut? To keep the wheel in alignment and prevent the piston from coming out the cylinder. A landing gear shock strut should be inflated with what gas? Nitrogen or dry air? I'm going over some of the ones we already did. See if you remember it. What condition should a mechanic look for during regular inspection of an exposed piston section of a landing gear? He should be looking for if it's clean, if there's evidence of damage, or the proper extension. What prevents the air from leaking out between two halves of a split wheel assembly? An O-ring. What safety precaution must be taken when removing a wheel from the axle or when disassembling a wheel? Verify that the tire is completely deflated before removing the wheel from the axle or before the wheel disassembly. Why are fusible plugs installed on some aircraft wheel? To release the pressure generated by heat buildup or before the tire blows. Why are the fusible plugs installed on some aircraft wheels? To release the pressure generated by heat buildup or before a tire blows. How can a pilot determine that the landing gear is down and locked? A green light or lights are another type of visual indicator. The green lights are another type of visual indicator. Name at least two conditions that would activate the takeoff configuration warning system in a jet transport aircraft. Incorrect leading or trailing edge flap position, stabilizer position, or speed brake not stowed. The manufacturer may establish other conditions. Name at least two conditions that would activate the takeoff configuration warning system in a jet transport aircraft. Incorrect leading or trailing edge flap position, stabilizer position, or speed brake not stowed. The manufacturer may establish other conditions. What landing gear position must be indicated by regulation? Down and lock and up and lock. One landing gear position must be indicated by regulation. Down lock, up locked. Let's go! Under what condition will landing gear oral warning sound? When the throttle is retarded and the landing gear is not down and locked. Under what condition will the landing gear oral warning sound? When the throttle is retarded and the landing gear is not down and locked. What is the function of the Mach airspeed warning system? To alert the pilot that the never exceed airspeed limit has been reached or exceeded. What is the function of the Mach airspeed warning system? To alert the pilot that the never exceed airspeed limit has been reached or exceeded. So it warns a pilot of an overspeed or a never exceed speed. What systems are commonly used to activate the landing gear warning system? The throttles, the thrust lever, and the wing flaps. What systems are commonly used to activate the landing gear warning system? A throttle or the wing flaps. Instead of the throttles, you can say thrust levers. Why do airplanes with bleed anti-icing on the wing leading edge have an anti-ice overheat light? Why do airplanes with bleed anti-icing or wing leading edge have an anti-ice overheat lights? To indicate an over temperature condition, usually as a result of a break in the bleed air ducts. Why do airplanes with bleed air anti-icing or wing leading edge have an anti-ice overspeed light? To indicate of an over temperature condition, usually as a result of a break in the bleed air ducts. Why do airplanes with bleed air anti-icing of the wing leading edge have an anti-ice overheat light? To indicate an over temperature condition, usually as a result of the break in the bleed air duct. What warning system may be required when a NiCad battery is installed in an aircraft. A battery temperature monitor system. What warning system may be required when a NiCad battery is installed in an aircraft? A battery temperature monitoring system. At what time would a check of a landing gear warning system normally be made? At what time would a check of a landing gear warning system normally be made? During a landing gear retraction test. At what time would a check of a landing gear warning system normally be made? During a landing gear retraction test. What is the purpose of an annunciator? What is the purpose of an annunciator? So annunciator to show by means of a warning light, okay? That some system parameters requires attention. So it draws your attention to a warning light by the flight crew to show by means of a warning light that some system parameters require attention by the flight crew. So annunciator tells the flight crew that, hey, crew members, there's a warning light going on, so give us some attention up here. If an aircraft with retractable landing gear has only a green light to indicate the gear down and lock, how will the switches be connected in series or in parallel? The switches are connected in series. The switches are connected in series, people. Where would you locate the procedure for checking and adjusting the landing gear switches? Where would you locate the procedure for checking and adjusting the landing gear switches? In the aircraft manufacturer's manual. In the aircraft manufacturer manual. What is usually means for alerting the crew of a jet transport that the cabin doors are not properly closed? What is usually means for alerting the crew of a jet transport that the cabin doors are not properly closed? Properly closed. It's a warning light. Let's do it one more time. What is usually mean for alerting the crew of a jet transport that the cabin doors are not properly closed? Warning light. Why are transport category aircraft equipped with master caution or warning system? To alert the crew that a malfunction has occurred and corrective action may be required. Why are transport category aircraft equipped with master caution and warning system? Why are transport category aircraft equipped with a master caution and a warning system? Therefore, it's to alert the crew that the malfunction has occurred and corrective action may be required. Aircraft instrument system. What type of temperature sensing system is normally to measure a turbine engine exhaust gas temperature? A thermocouple type system. What type of temperature sensing system is normally used to measure a turbine engine exhaust gas temperature? A thermocouple type system. What operating parameters is indicated by a tachometer? What operating parameters is indicated by a tachometer? Engine RPM, crankshaft or turbine rotor speed. So the engine RPM is based on the crankshaft or the turbine rotor speed. So what operating parameters is indicated by the tachometer? The engine RPM. Okay? Next, what is the name of the effect that causes a gyro to respond to applied force at a point 90 degrees further in all direction of rotation? What is the name of the effect that caused a gyro to respond to applied force at a point 90 degrees or further in the direction of rotation? Gyroscopic precession. What is the name of the effect that causes gyro to respond to applied force at a point 90 degrees further in direction of rotation? A gyroscopic precession. What are three sources of power used to drive gyroscopic turn indicator? Air from a vacuum, or pressure source, or electric motor. What are three sources of power used to drive a gyroscopic turn indicator? Air from a vacuum, or pressure source, or an electric motor. In what way do magnetic fields generated by electrical equipment as steel parts in the airplane affect a magnetic compass? In what way do magnetic fields generated by electrical equipment and steel parts in the airplane affect a magnetic compass? In what way do magnetic fields generated by electrical equipment and steel parts in the airplane affect magnetic compass? Stray magnetic fields deflects the compass from correct alignment with the Earth's magnetic field. So stray magnetic fields deflect compass from correct alignment with the Earth's magnetic field. What aircraft instruments are connected to the pedostatic tube? What aircraft instruments are connected to the pedostatic tube? The altimeter, the vertical speed indicator, airspeed, and Mach meter in high performance jets. So for our case, let's just worry about the altimeter, the vertical speed indicator, and the airspeed indicator. Why should you avoid cleaning obstructions from sensing holes in the pedostatic system tool? The holes are aerodynamically critical. Why should you avoid cleaning obstructions from the sensing holes in the pedostatic system with a tool? The holes are aerodynamically critical. After a component in the pedostatic system have been replaced, what tests or inspections are required? The static system leak test specified by the FAR 41.1. After components in a pedostatic system have been replaced, what tests or inspections are required? The static system leak test specified by FAR 91.411. Who is authorized to apply the range markings, the instrument dial face? The manufacturer or certificated instrument repair station? Who is authorized to apply the range marking on the instrument dial force? The manufacturer, the certified repair station. What is the meaning of a yellow arc on the aircraft instruments? A caution or limited flight operation range. What is the meaning of a yellow arc on the aircraft instrument? A caution or limited flight operation range. Airframe and ice control system. Ice and rain control. What controls the temperature in a thermal anti-ice system? Hot and cold air are mixed. What controls the temperature in a thermal anti-ice system? Hot and cold air are mixed. What is the source of heating? What are the sources of heat for a thermal anti-ice system? Bleed air from the compressor section of the turbine engine. What are sources of heat for thermal anti-ice system? Bleed air, engine exhaust heat, combustion heaters. What sources for heat for thermal anti-ice system? Bleed air from the compressor section of the turbine engine exhaust heat exchangers, and combustion heaters. Why is it necessary to provide overheat protection for anti-ice systems that use turbine engine bleed air? The air is hot enough to cause damage to the aircraft structure. Why is it necessary to provide overheat protection to the anti-ice system that use turbine engine bleed air? The air is hot enough to cause damage to the aircraft structure. What are the effects of arcing on an electrically heated windshield? The air is hot enough to cause damage to the aircraft structure. The air is hot enough to cause damage to the aircraft structure. What is the effect of arcing on the electrically heated windshield? Localized overheating or damage to the windshield. What are the effects of arcing on our electrically heated windshield? Damage to the windshield. Localized overheating and damage to the windshield. Can an operation of an electrically heated pitot tube be checked with the aircraft ammeter? And if so, how? Yes. Turn the pitot heaters on and observe the deflection of the ammeter needle. Can the operation of an electrically heated pitot tube be checked with the aircraft ammeters? And if so, how? Yes. Turn the pitot heaters on and observe the deflection of the ammeter needle. Describe several potential problems associated with electrically heated windshields. Arcing, delamination, scratches, discoloration. Describe several potential problems associated with electrically heated windshields. Arcing, delamination, scratches, and discoloration. Name 2 problems associated with in-flight operation of aircraft windshield wipers. Insufficient blade pressure caused by aerodynamic forces and failure to oscillate. Name 2 problems associated with in-flight operation of aircraft windshield wipers. Insufficient blade pressure caused by aerodynamic forces and failure to oscillate fast enough. Describe the operation of pneumatic rain removal system. High velocity air blasts prevent the rain from reaching the surface of the windshield. Describes the operation of pneumatic rain removal system. A high velocity air blast prevents the rain from reaching the surface of the windshield. What are the effects of spraying rain repellent on a dry windshield? Visible. Visibility. It affects visibility. What are the effects of spraying rain repellent on a dry windshield? It smears or streaks, which reduces visibility and it's hard to remove when dry. Let's go! Cabin atmosphere control systems. You ready? Is there any special requirement to the type of oxygen used in an aircraft system? And so, what is it? Only aviators breathing oxygen should be used. Is there any special requirement as to the type of oxygen used in the aircraft system? And if so, what is it? Only aviators breathing oxygen should be used. Describe the operating principle of a continuous flow oxygen system. Describe the operating principle of a continuous flow oxygen system. High pressure oxygen flows from the storage cylinder to the pressure regulator, where its pressure is reduced, and then the mass outlet whenever the system is turned on. Describe the operating principle for a continuous flow oxygen system. High pressure oxygen flows from the storage cylinders to a pressure regulator, where its pressure is reduced and then mass outlet whenever the system is turned on. Describe the operating principle of a pressure demand oxygen system. Demand system allows oxygen to flow from the cylinder to the regulator and then to the mass only when the user inhales. Pressure demand system provides oxygen to the mass at higher than atmospheric pressure. When used at extremely high altitudes, forcing oxygen into the user's lungs. Describe operating principle of pressure demand oxygen system. Demand oxygen system. Demand system allows oxygen to flow to the cylinder to the regulator and then to the mass only when the user inhales. So you can say the demand oxygen system, whenever the user inhales, that's when, he gets oxygen. Oxygen is supplied to the user whenever he inhales. Oxygen is supplied to the user whenever he inhales. What should be used to purge an oxygen system of moisture? What should be used to purge an oxygen system of moisture? Oxygen, dry air, or nitrogen? What action must be taken when an oxygen system has been opened to the atmosphere? The system must be purged of any moisture. Describe the safety precaution that should be observed when servicing oxygen system. Avoid all contact with petroleum-based oil or grease. Don't smoke. Keep everything very clean. Service system outdoors if all possible and keep the caps on bottles to protect the valves. Describe the safety precaution that should be observed when servicing oxygen system. Avoid all contacts with petroleum-based oil or grease. Don't smoke. Keep everything very clean. Service system outdoors. If at all possible, keep the caps on the bottles to protect the valves. What is the Roots blower? A type of engine-driven compressor. What are the Roots blower? The engine-driven compressor. What device provides the principal means of controlling cabin pressure? The outflow valve. What device provides the principal means of controlling cabin pressure? The outflow valve. What unit regulates the pistons on the outflow valve? The cabin pressure controller. What unit regulates the position of an outflow valve? The cabin pressure controller. What unit regulates the position of an outflow valve? The cabin pressure controller. Describe the basic operating principle that allows the air cycle system to produce cool air. Hot engine bleed air is cooled in primary heat exchanger. Compressed. Cooled again in the secondary heat exchanger. This air is expanded across a turbine where the energy is extracted and the pressure is reduced. This produces a large temperature drop. Describe the basic operating principle that allows an air cycle system to produce cool air. Hot engine bleed air. Hot engine bleed air is cooled in the primary heat exchanger 1. Compress, then cooled again in the secondary. This air is expanded across the turbine where the engine is extracted, where energy is extracted and the pressure is reduced. This produces a large temperature drop. Describe the basic operating principle of water separator. Cool moist air is swirled so that the water droplets are separated by a centrifugal captured by a sock and drained. Describe the basic operating principle of water separator. Cool moist air is swirled so that the water droplets are separated by a centrifugal force, captured by a sock and drained. Name the principal components of a vapor cycle system. Compressor, a condenser, expansion valve, and an evaporator. What are the principal components of a vapor cycle cooling system? A compressor, a condenser, an expansion valve, and an evaporator. I thought they would have a receiver dry there, but there's none. In what significant way is a vapor cycle cooling system different from an air cycle system? A vapor cycle system uses a refrigerant liquid, usually Freon. Are you ready? In what significant way is a vapor cycle cooling system different from an air cycle system? The vapor cycle system uses refrigerant liquid, usually Freon. Why is oil added to the refrigerant in a vapor cycle air conditioning system? To lubricate the compressor. Why is oil added to the refrigerant in a vapor cycle cooling system? To lubricate the compressor. And you can also say to seal and lubricate the compressor. Aircraft fuel system. Why do some aircraft have fuel jettison system? To allow the crew to reduce the weight of the aircraft down or below the maximum allowable landing weight. Why do some aircraft have fuel jettison system? To allow the crew to reduce the weight of the aircraft down to or below the maximum allowable landing weight. Is there any reason why the fuel jettison system might be required on a small aircraft? Yes. If the maximum takeoff weight exceeds the maximum allowable landing weight, a jettison system would be required. If the maximum takeoff exceeds the allowable landing, a jettison system would be required. What are some other names for a single point fueling system? An underwing or pressure fueling system. What are some other names for a single point fueling system? An underwing or pressure fueling system. Why do multiple engine airplanes have cross feed systems? To allow any engine to draw fuel from any tank. Why do multi-engine airplanes have fuel cross feed system? To allow any engine to draw fuel from any tank. What does the term wet wing mean? means sealed portion of the aircraft wing structures form the fuel tanks. What the term wet wings mean? The term wet wings means sealed portion of the aircraft wing structure form fuel tanks. Wet wings means sealed portion of the aircraft wing structure form fuel tanks. How is the weight of the fuel supported when bladder-type fuel cells are used? The bladder is supported by the aircraft structure which contains it. How is the weight of the fuel supported when bladder-type fuel cells are used? The bladder is supported by the aircraft structure which contains it. How is the weight of the fuel supported when bladder-type fuel cells are used? The bladder is supported by the aircraft structure which contains it. Why do turbine engine aircraft have fuel temperature indicating system? Why do turbine engine aircraft have a fuel temperature indicating system? To allow the crew to determine the fuel is cold enough to produce a danger of the formation of ice crystal. Why do turbine engine aircraft have fuel temperature indicating system? To allow the crew to determine if the fuel is cold enough to produce a danger of formation of ice crystal. Oh my god, I'm tired. Keep going. What are drip gauges and sight gauges? Underwing bayonet type fuel gauges. What are drip gauges and sight gauges? Underwing bayonet type fuel gauges. Why are electronic capacitance fuel quantity indicating system more accurate than other types? They measure mass of the fuel instead of the volume. They don't measure volume, they measure mass. Why are electronic fuel quantity indicating system more accurate than others? They measure mass of fuel instead of volume. What is the purpose of an in-transit light associated with electrically operated fuel tank shut-off valve? What is the purpose of an in-transit light associated with electrically operated fuel tank shut-off valve? To provide an indication that the valve is in motion between one position and the other. What is the purpose of an in-transit light associated with electrically operated fuel tank shut-off valve? To provide an indication that the valve is in motion between one position and another. Let's continue. For what reason is a fuel jettison system usually divided into two separate independent systems, one for each wing? For what reason is the fuel jettison system usually divided into two separate independent systems, one for each wing? To help maintain lateral stability by jettisoning fuel from a heavy wing if necessary. What reason is the fuel jettison system usually divided into two separate independent, one for each wing? To help maintain lateral stability by jettisoning fuel from a heavy wing if necessary. What procedure should be followed regarding gaskets and seals when replacing fuel system components? All gaskets and seals should be replaced with new ones. I know you're ready for this test. The fact that you're tuned in The fact that you're tuned into my videos, you are ready for this test. Stop playing. Go sign up. Go ready. I don't care if you have 2 more days left for this test. Do not cancel it. You will be ready. So this coming Friday, I will make my video about uploading. I will make my video about receiving my license. I won't get the license in my hand, but I will have a video ready to let y'all know I received the license. I might take that video today and let y'all know that I received the license. Another thing is, I'm not gonna lie, one of my foot is gone, literally. My toe, I hit the toe so bad, and now the back of the foot is gone. I don't know what to do next, but I'm not giving up. I'm still going to that test. I'm still gonna pass the test. I'm still gonna upload this video when I get my license. I'm gonna do 2 more chapters here quickly. I'm not gonna rush. And then we're gonna hop on part 2 video. I'm gonna take a little break, hop on part 2 video, and we're gonna just keep uploading videos back to back to back until my test days finish. I'm not even gonna be paying attention much next week. I have 2 trips to go on, one Boeing and one. I have one Boeing trip to go on, and I have another thing to go do. So this week is pretty busy, and I'm not gonna cancel my test in Jesus' name. So briefly, describe the component to a thermal switch fire detection system. Temperature sensitive switches that complete a circuit at a specific temperature and trigger a warning. Briefly describe the components of a thermal switch fire detection system. Temperature sensitive switches that complete a circuit at a specific temperature and trigger a warning. Briefly describe a component of a thermal switch fire detection system. The temperature sensitive switches that complete a circuit at a specific temperature and trigger a warning. Are thermal switches wired in series or in parallel with each other? Thermal switches are wired in parallel. Are thermal switches wired in series or in parallel with each other? Thermal switches are wired in parallel. How are detector units in a double loop fan wall system wired? How are detector units in a double loop fan wall system wired? In parallel between 2 complete loops. How are detector units in a double loop fan wall system wired? In parallel between 2 complete loops. Describe the process or mechanism by which a photoelectric smoke detector generates warning of a possible fire. Smoke particles refract light. This book means smoke particles reflect light in a detector unit, causing a photoelectric cell to conduct electricity and trigger the alarm. Smoke particles refract light in the detector unit, causing photoelectric cell to conduct electricity and trigger the alarm. How can the operation of a photoelectric smoke detector be tested? How can the operation of a photoelectric smoke detector be tested? by activating the test switch. How can the operation of a faulty electric smoke detector be tested? By activating a test switch. Name two types of smoke detection system used in aircraft: light refraction, photoelectric types, and ionization types. Name two types of smoke detection system used in aircraft: light refraction, photoelectric types, and ionization types. What are usual locations where a carbon monoxide detector would be installed? What are the usual locations where carbon monoxide detectors would be installed? In the aircraft cockpit or cabin. What are the usual locations where the carbon monoxide detector would be installed? In the aircraft cockpit or cabin. Yeah, I don't do no cockpits. No homo. No cockpit around here. No, I will not be stepping in there. Please and thank you. Name two basic type of fire extinguishing system. The conventional system the high rate discharge system. Name two basic types of fire detection system: conventional and high rate discharge system. Name the extinguishing agent most commonly used by a conventional fire extinguishing system: carbon dioxide. Name the extinguishing agent most commonly used by a conventional fire extinguishing system: carbon dioxide. Name the extinguishing agent most commonly used by high rate discharge fire extinguishing system: halogenated hydrocarbon type agents, also known as freon. Name the extinguishing agents most commonly used by high rate discharge fire extinguishing system: halon halogenated hydrocarbon type agents, also known as freon. One last one, and we go to bed. And I'm on aircraft airworthiness inspection. Where do you find the regulation that specifies the operating condition that make a 100 inspection mandatory? Where? The FAR Part 91. Where do you find the regulation that specifies the operating condition that makes a 100-hour inspection mandatory? The FAR Part 91. A certified airframe and power plant mechanic may sign off and approve the return to service of the following. What type of inspection? Certified airframe and power plant mechanic can do a 100-hour inspection. Under what condition may a mechanic perform an annual inspection and return the aircraft to service? A mechanic must hold it IA. Under what condition may a mechanic perform an annual inspection and return the aircraft to service? The mechanic must hold the inspection authorization. Under what condition may any checklist be used as a guide for a 100-hour inspection? The checklist must meet the minimum standards specified in the FAR Part 43, Appendix D. Under what condition any checklist be used as a guide for a 100-hour inspection? FAR Part 43, Appendix D. In order for an individual person to conduct a 100-hour, is it legal to fly that airplane beyond the inspection requirement, and if so, how long? Yes, the aircraft may be operated up to 10 hours if required to reach a place where the inspection can be accomplished. An aircraft is required by 491-409 to have a 100-hour. Is it legal to fly that aircraft beyond the inspection requirement? And if so, how long? Yes, the aircraft may be operated for up to 10 hours if required to reach a place where the inspection can be accomplished. And we're going to stop right there today. Yo!